What weird things happen during sex that nobody warns you about? When he keeps rubbing and thinks he has the clit. But it's not. So you try to reposition your body differently against his hand. Or rub it yourself. Attempt to guide him there. But he keeps rubbing your pubic bone raw anyway until you give up and just get on top. When you spoon with a girl after sex and your DCK shrinks and sticks to her back like a piece of chewed up bubble gum. How having sex like they do in PRNO movies is actually quite physically exhausting and doesn't feel very good. I think Ron Jeremy once said if it looks bad, it feels good. If it looks good, it feels bad. All those crazy positions aren't to enhance the pleasure. They're to get better camera angles. Also, sex can last too long and those marathon sessions aren't necessarily a good thing. I've had a few sessions that lasted multiple hours and it wasn't all that much fun for either of us towards the end. She dries up. We both get tired. Etc. etc. Finally, cuddling can be awkward because you'll be trying to figure out where to put that one arm without your partner cutting the circulation off. When you try out a new position and it really doesn't work. And you kind of just have to be like next. Your hand cramps up or your elbow starts hurting. I'm a woman with long hair and poor eyesight. So I always have to plait my hair back. Learned that early on. And if I want to see anything I have to have my contacts in. When people said you had to prepare for sex, this was not what I had in mind. Your mind wanders. Like, you'll be trying to enjoy what's going on and you'll know damn well that you have been wanting this to happen for a while. And you'll still have random one-off thoughts. It can take some self-discipline to stay in the moment. Especially since not everything you're doing is necessarily what's best for you. Wait a minute. If I use mutexes I could stop the images from being uploaded in the wrong order but still download them simultaneously. Great dirty talk. Reapplying lube and then doing the old rodeo cowboy hand gesture because you can't fking find the towel. So you just kinda keep your hand elevated like you're afraid to ask Ems Lang a question in 8th grade. If she gets overstimulated and either starts to cry, faint, or laugh uncontrollably. Personal experience is when my girlfriend was grinding and she came and began laughing hysterically. When you are a foot taller than your SO and lining up is difficult. Just when she's getting close. My tongue cramps up. Jaw. Fingers. Dart. And the needing to breathe when she has both your nose and mouth in just the perfect spot. Some toilet paper leaves clitty litter. Your DCK occasionally slips out. Then it tries to find a different hole. AKA the showstopper. Boob farts. Show me how them tits fart. Sometimes, even if a woman is really turned on, she doesn't get wet. Eater. Thank you for the gold. Sometimes you lose your spatial awareness. Partner and I were having a grand ole time. I lost sense of the bed dimensions. King. We were all over the place. Then I fell off the bed. Ass over elbows onto my head and farted upon impact. I was embarrassed. He got me an ice pack for the knot on my head. We've been married 17 years now. And still laugh about it. Be safe, kids. Flopping and slapping noises as your bodies meet. You realize your cat likes to watch. This is the worst. Especially as they're not only watching but curious. You're in the heat of the moment. Feeling good. Forgetting you even have a cat. And then, you feel their little paws in places they should never be. Edit. Thanks for the silver. When you could go all night. But she thinks you're about to come. And says don't come yet, but just hearing that makes you come. The apology later is the weird part. Long sex does not necessarily mean good sex. For one, the girl can get sore. Especially if the guy is big. It can also get boring if it goes on too long. It's all about finding the sweet spot. Timing wise. I think it's been knocked into the heads of too many guys that the ideal is lasting for hours. For some women, I'm sure they love that. Others, not so much. The noises. And the smells. Sex has its own smell. Queefs. Curious pets. Spontaneous genital malfunction, all genders. The dreaded taint smash. Muscle cramps. Falling out of rhythm. Flesh farts, when two particularly well-fitting sweaty areas match up and there's a little air in between. And it escapes. Real farts. Short and accidental MMA matches. I've taken an elbow to the eye socket. Comma. And the sentence I don't bend that way. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Edit. Thanks for the gold and silver. Kind strangers. Some people can't do two physical things at once. So they might be able to kiss, but once having sex they're bashing teeth. Sticking tongue out too far. Rotating the head the wrong way. Just wrong. It's like they can't coordinate two types of bodily movement at once. You're not always gonna have sex with someone right out of the shower. Sometimes it's in the moment and it doesn't always smell, let's say, awesome. Sometimes, hypothetically, the girl could be on top riding and you could wind up for a playful slap on the ass. And accidentally slap yourself directly in the balls, causing great pain for one party and uproarious laughter for the other, pretty much derailing the whole thing. I wouldn't know anything about this. But it happened to a friend of mine. I'm waking up to ash and dust. I miss her ass and I slap my nuts. The falling asleep afterwards thing. But there's cleanup and peeing to do. IDK how people just roll over and sleep in their own slime while your pee hole cements itself shut. Hip cramps. Basically when your legs are spread too wide for too long and your hip flexor becomes a traitor, requiring your leg to be straight or you'll be in too much pain for enjoyment. Even worse when it's both of your hip flexors cramping at the same time. Edit. Spelling. Edit 2. Never thought me admitting to getting hip cramps during sex would result in gold twice, in addition to being my most liked comment. My mouth dries up to the point when I swallow it sticks and I choke and have to stop and get a drink. I guess from heavy breathing, moaning and panting. Or getting so wound up from him I almost pass out. Blurry vision afterwards. All those vaginal juices have to come from somewhere. Dripping and leaking afterwards. For her. Some people are absolutely amazing. SI wonderful people, but you just don't enjoy sex with each other. Sometimes it's libido differences and sometimes it's just certain things don't do it for you. I dated someone who had a high sex drive like me, but she loved teasing. I don't mind it sparingly, but literally every time she deliberately stopped before I was finished as she got off on me, being frustrated and wanting her more. Something like that just won't work out if you don't also enjoy that. But for her, normal sex didn't do it for her, so even though we had great chemistry we would never see eye to eye in the bedroom. Sheets come off. Mattresses slide. Blankets start to bunch up no matter how flat they lied. Pillows nowhere near the two of you will get launched. Things on the headboard are gonna fall over, just watch. SX will turn a bed that is perfectly made into one that just hosted a slumber party. With a big sweat spot down the middle. Your first paragraph reads like a poem and I can't tell if that's intentional or not. When you're so close together that you're now basically stuck together with sweat and having to pull yourself apart after. And sometimes the hollows of your chest or whatever suction to theirs and make a fart sound. Then you've got to stop and laugh. If your significant other is lactating, this thread better not awaken anything in me. Oh. Well, hello new fetish. Water is not a lubricant. Her legs might start vibrating at an alarming rate. I thought she was having a seizure and panicked, but don't be dumb like me. Apparently some girls do that when they're about to orgasm. Policemen will sometimes rudely interrupt you by knocking on the car window. Probably shouldn't be in their police car doing that stuff. Edit. So this is how I receive my first platinum. A latex allergy makes things interesting for me. I have to always prepare and bring latex-free condoms if sex will be a possibility. It's a little awkward when a guy goes for a condom and I have to give him the briefing on what's up and go for mine instead. And you can't really predict if it's a good fit for him. Fun stuff. How wildly varied orgasm and time can be. Sometimes you can be extremely turned on, go for it along and dribble at the end. Other times you're extremely turned on, fire off fast, and it's like you've got to hose. You've got those seconds rounds that fire off harder than the first. It just varies so damn much. The amount of stamina required and the significant value of general fitness. If someone had told me in school that gym class was mainly going to aid you in SOD contexts, I would have made a much greater effort. Having sex on the beach is not what it's made out to be. Even when on a towel. Sand gets everywhere. As it happens. Sand is not a good lubricant. Also, you can get disapproving looks from the other people there. Sometimes you may get a bad headache as you get closer. Especially for men. If it happens more than once or twice, see a doctor. SX headaches can be a sign of something severe. Can't get SX headaches if you don't have SX. You can be sexually incompatible with someone. They might want the deep, slow, romantic shit you see in movies. And you might want filthy, degrading, dirty talk. And you might be turned off doing what they like most. And vice versa. Also the leg cramps. I can relate to that. My wife is into some really weird stuff. But she also thinks blood shouldn't be a lubricant. So, whatever. So I dated this girl in college for a bit. The first time we duck doggy, I was surprised to see her butthole dilate to the size of a dime. Never seen that before or since in any other partner. Sometimes I wonder if I imagined it. Edit. Whoa. So that blew up. To answer questions. My surprise came from the fact that I hadn't touched her asshole, it just gaped open all on its own. It stayed that way until she orgasmed, at which point it slammed shut with her orgasmic contractions. No. She didn't fart poop. No. I did not put it in her butt at that point. I know. I probably should have. I was young and relatively inexperienced. We did butt stuff eventually though, and I can confirm she was definitely into it. We didn't date very long though. She was cray. All the best ones are, it seems. You stare into the abyss long enough and it may stare back at you. Something happens that you didn't necessarily want or plan for. Then you realize you kind of like that. Kinks almost happen by accident. Edit. Thanks for the silver and gold, you kinky ducks. One time my wife was riding me and her phone rang. She answered it. Instacom. Sometimes you can't finish. Applies to both S's. Not always a bad thing. As I know it can knock your pride. Weird. But something you work around. Most assume you're going to finish overly dramatically like in PRN. Or at least that's what my friends and I thought. To spare my wife's feelings. Early in the relationship. If I couldn't finish. I faked it and claimed it must have been a ghost load. Edit. Highest rated comment for me. And it's about envisages. Thanks for the gold and silver, folks. Absolutely nothing. Replied the female praying mantis. When you try to be SI and pull out and go back and over. Well, if you have a cold. And you are on top. When you go to kiss your honey. And your nose is kinda runny. You may think it's funny. But it's not. Curious pets investigating. Amen. I lock the cats out and we duck to the sounds of them crying at the door. Nearly had my ear blown out by a Valkyrie battle cry orgasm. My first silver award. Hell yeah. Thanks. Always wash after eating hot wings. Fingers and face. Edit. Damn silver. Thanks. I'll pass it on to the wife. She's the one that deserves it. If you're too big. Despite what PRN might make you think. You can seriously hurt a woman if she has a smaller inside area. I'm not talking about girth-wise. But rather length. Having their cervix pounded is apparently uncomfortable. As a guy. Trying not to come often feels like those mini games where you have to keep a needle in the middle of a green zone while different factors try to push it left or right. You think you're about to finish? Better start counting prime numbers in your head to distract yourself. Nope. Got too distracted and now your erection is starting to go away. Now thrust harder to compensate and you now inexplicably feel like you're going to orgasm while having only a semi-erect penis. Then to top it all off, sometimes you stop just a millisecond too late and you get this pathetic 5% orgasm where you feel virtually nothing. Don't actually come. But your DCK has decided that the show is over and retreats for winter. Then you have to try to explain what just happened to some poor girl who thinks she did something to instantaneously kill your erection without any hope of it returning. The cuddle puddle. In my experience, a cuddle puddle is just a bunch of people on ecstasy cuddling each other in a pile. If you have a big penis, please be careful when going deep. Hitting the cervix is real. And from my understanding, the funk. That somewhat good but also nasty smell that hangs about like a cloud after doing the do. Sometimes you guys have been going at it hard for a while and you're completely depleted of energy, so you're laying there next to each other covered in sweat and other bodily fluids and breathing in the funk. When her in the front seat and her ass keeps honking the horn. Lem give ya dat beep beep. Being super horny but also super tired. Once fell asleep while licking her PSSY. Woke up and finished the job though. I ain't no quitter. As a woman with long frizzy hair, kissing ain't an option on top unless you tie it back into a tight ugly bun like M's. For the ladies, it is just wet afterwards. Things drool out of you for the rest of the day. Even if it isn't ejaculate. It. Oh my. Thank you so much for the upvotes and popping my gold cherry. Kinda weird that my best comment on this site is about PSSY soup. But yeah. Thank you so much. Kind stranger. That awkward tension after I disappoint her. I've had two girls have their eyes roll back in their heads during sex. Legitimately freaky for a sec the first time I saw it. They're having a good time, so don't stop what you're doing and just try not to look into the demon gaze in front of you. Holy shit, dude. You straight up duck the devil. Honestly, I just wish someone had warned me that sometimes it's just boring and not fun. I kinda figured for a long time that if you could get a girl and do it safely, it would just automatically be a good time. When you accidentally pull out too far and almost snap your DCK in half with the next thrust. Girls. And them leaving TP pieces behind. Oh god, I am so paranoid about this. My legs get really shaky and when I have to pause to go pee or something, it's hard to walk. Teeth is no bueno. Keeping up the pace of pee run stars can be absolutely exhausting, and if you're not fit, the change in blood flow required to keep up the pace may steal your wood. When my girl queefed for the first time, it made me fart when I laughed, and then we both laughed and I was still inside of her from behind, and she realized that me laughing while in her felt great and that made her queef more and me laugh more. Repeat. Upvoting comments in here are like little nods of agreement. Sometimes you catch feelings. Sometimes. When a man does a really good job, he and his bed get absolutely soaked. Sometimes it's pee. Sometimes it isn't. But it's always pretty hot. If you're both skinny, sometimes your sternums will make farting noises when you press together. I found out, the hard way, that I cannot have sex with a woman, effectively, without actually being in love with her. I start out fine. But at some point my brain connects with the fact that I'm not in love with her. And the desire just dries up. When it's really wet and you go into the wrong hole. Hint, V2B. It's a real jolt when they aren't expecting it. For safety, don't finger a girl within 24 hours of cutting peppers, even if you scrubbed all the flesh from your hands. You missed some and you'll never live it down. You will have to fart immediately after starting. As you get older, And especially after a few drinks. It's quite possible you won't be able to come. At 22. You can't even imagine that. At 43. You just want to get some sleep. Queefing not during or immediately after sex. But hours later. Or even the next day. It's real fun when your kid laughs at your fart and you have to excuse yourself. The cleanup afterwards. When you waiting for him to come back with a towel. No one truly explains how goddamn funny and awkward PSSY farts are. Lord knows we try to warn people. But it doesn't matter. Sometimes you're giving a blowjob and you go so deep that you trigger your gag reflex and you throw up all over your partner's DCK. Some people had sex one time and made Hitler. I'd call that a ducking curveball. True story. My GF, at the time, were having shower sex and she's pretty into butt stuff and I was fingering her and realized I had some poop on my fingers. If you get too much ketchup in the vagina it can cause a yeast infection. Always use condoms with a new partner. Not condiments. Easy rookie mistake there. Fire alarms. Nobody expects fire alarms. Especially freshman year of college me. You can't come on antidepressants. Ugh. Edit. Glad not everyone has this problem. Also I'm a female on Celexa. It doesn't affect my high sex drive. I just can't get off anymore. Unless you're a goddamn bodybuilder. Right when she says, don't stop. Will also be the same time you're like, am I fucking done yet? Your erections can straight up just fail. Even if a woman is decently aroused. The lubrication isn't necessarily all the way to the entrance. So literally you use spit or otherwise have to work at it for the first half inch or so. Can be uncomfortable. This is for virgins. Mainly those with vaginas that haven't bled yet. Also coincidentally this applies to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as well. Remember to always carry a towel. Always be prepared. I wasn't and my girlfriend definitely wasn't either. Blood everywhere. It took a good hour to clean. But staying calm is the key. Nothing wrong with it. Just be prepared for cleanup as you always should anyways after or during sex. Sudden, uncontrollable squirting. This reads like it's from Cards Against Humanity. Banging heads it happens. You realize you have literally no connection with the person you're having sex with but you're already having sex so you kind of disassociate and deal with your stupid flesh husk banging someone you wish wasn't in your bed while mentally waiting down the appropriate time to start rewatching Sherlock cause you don't think you paid enough attention the first time. That you can't just lay down and fall asleep after you gotta go wash your DCK puss at least. Kittens must be kept from the room. For they are fond of swinging things. The sounds. And the leg cramps. So I'm 8 months pregnant and lem tell you my hubby is a pro at getting those farts out during sex. It's like every few thrusts he helps one come out. Bless his soul. You discover how noisy or rickety your bed is. NBD if you leave alone. Wash under your fingernails if you cut pepper without gloves. Vaginal farts lol. Sometimes you can't find or fix the air leaks so you have to go buy another so. Nobody warns you about how disappointing shower sex can be. One person is always cold. Water is a terrible lubricant. It can be really cramped and uncomfortable. It's super easy to slip and hurt yourself. A lot better to just have sex and then shower together afterwards. Just how messy it can get. I think the most unrealistic thing TV movies depict about sex is how guys or girls just pull up their pants right after. Like no. Also, I have started my period during sex. No idea if that's normal. But the first few times it happened, it alarmed me. If you press the clit and the G spot at the same time, the vagina takes a screenshot. You don't notice the clip is coming to an end and it stops a couple of seconds before you come. 2 words. Frenulum tear. I freaked out so badly when it happened to kid me. I'm just noticing that it's suddenly way too wet for any of us to get any sort of pleasure. Reach down to feel what going on. And my hand comes back up looking like something from Evil Dead. I ended up in the bathtub, watching in horror as small spurts of blood rhythmically sprang from my DCK. Like a miniature blood fountain. I was pretty sure I was going to die. I could have done with someone warning me about that shit.